Today's episode is brought to you by Microsoft Dragon Copilot, your AI assistant for clinical workflow, which helps to ease administrative burdens. We don't like those.
They are the
Those
worst.
are terrible.
There are way too many in healthcare.
Automatically document care, streamline workflow, and just help you build a good patient-physician relationship. That's what it's all about. Learn about how Dragon Copilot can transform the way you work. Visit aka.ms/knock-knock-hi. Again, that's aka.ms/knock-knock-hi.
Knock, knock. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Knock Knock Eye with me, your host, Dr. Glockenflecken. This, of course, is your one-stop shop for all things eyeball related. I've got something new I'm going to try out today. I've been trying to think of different eye topics that we can do. And God, I don't know. I've probably gone through like 100 different diagnoses at this point in the, I don't know, 100 plus episodes that we've done. And so I'm going to take a slightly different approach for probably the next few episodes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if you guys like it. I'm going to take an ocular sign and an ocular symptom every episode, and we're going to go through the differential. So what's the difference between a sign and a symptom? So a sign would be something that you see on exam. Maybe it's asymptomatic. Patient doesn't have any symptoms, but I see it on exam. What is my differential? What are all the possible reasons for that exam finding? And we're also going to do one ocular symptom, something that you do notice. And that's the reason maybe that you came in to see the eye doctor. And I'm going to go through the differential. What are the things I'm thinking about that can be a diagnosis? What's the list of diagnoses for that symptom? And then the list of diagnoses for that sign. So we're going to do one from each category. And we're just going to go through as many of these as I can, as many episodes as it takes until, of course, you become an eye doctor. Did you not know that was the end result from doing this? Is that you're all going to be board certified in ophthalmology? No, I have in no way am I allowed to give you a board certification unless I start my own board, which has happened before. Shout out Rand Paul, Kentucky senator, was unhappy with the existing medical board and the American Board of Ophthalmology and decided to make his own board. Didn't last very long. So I guess it can happen. I don't know. You guys want to be board certified under the Glockenflecken School of Ophthalmology? Let me know in the comments. Go leave a comment over on our YouTube channel at Glockenfleckens. Do you want a board certification? We'll just have a little form you fill out and then it's done. You have to answer. I'll have to come up with some quiz questions for you, though. Make sure you actually learned a thing or two from this podcast. All right. Before we get into it, though, I want to talk about my recent experience in a urology world. So the last episode, I honestly should go back and listen to the last episode I recorded because it was like the tail end of my 3-month testosterone dose. So in case you're listening for the first time, I don't have any testicles. They were both removed because of cancer. Had a little bout of cancer a couple times. Ended up losing my testicles. And so it's been a long road. I've talked about it before. Lots of different types of testosterone treatments. Eventually, we found a great regimen that works for me. I get these little pellets. They're called Testapel. And I have to go in to see the doctor, the urologist, and she just puts 8 of these things into my butt cheek. Has to numb me up. I've never actually seen it happen because I'm face down, ass up whenever she comes in. We have chit chat, and then the thing is done. So my 3-month checkup is coming up. It was actually today, and I want to now. I'm like full of testosterone. I feel better, and so I want to go back and listen to like me recording an episode at the tail end of my testosterone versus like the day or the day after I get a refill, because I can feel it. I'm kind of like low energy And so if you notice in these episodes, like I'm feeling just really like, but like I'm sounding like I don't want to do this, or I'm just out of it, or stumbling over my words, which I do anyway, or just like not seeming like I want to do this. It's probably because I'm like at the tail end of it. I'm just like I'm ready to get my refill. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this happens once a year. I get a phone call from the urologist's office, and they tell me the thing that no American ever wants to hear, that insurance has denied your testosterone replacement. They need proof that you actually need it. Proof. In this circumstance, it's one of the most absurd things that you can ask for. It's in the same category as people with type 1 diabetes who need to prove that they still need insulin. Like, what do I need to prove to insurance that I haven't regrown my testicles? Human body doesn't do that. They don't. I'm not going to wake up with new testicles in my scrotum. That doesn't. I would love that. That would be great. I don't think that happens, and I'm not aware of it. Same thing with your pancreas. Just doesn't start, making insulin from your beta islands. It doesn't happen. You don't have that ability. And so it's the most absurd thing for insurance company to be like, whoa, hold on. This guy's been taking testosterone. We've been paying for this for a year. I don't know if we should keep doing this. They have all my documentation. I send them all my notes. The clinic sends them the notes that says primary hypogonadism. And then in the description, no testicles for this one. They're gone. He doesn't, no, there's no endogenous testosterone production. He still needs this. Unless you want to pay for like a femur fractures from osteoporosis. What do you expect from? I don't know. It's oh my God. It's just like one headache after another. And so I did. This is the first time I've done this. Because up until this point, Testapel, it's fairly expensive, and but I'm just so fed up with this because if I try to wait and we appeal this decision, and then you get denied again because most of these are AI generated denials. They're like automatically, oh no, we're going to deny this, and then you have to appeal, and eventually a human being will look at it and determine, oh yeah, of course, but that might take months. And so I've been in the situation where I have to like have my testosterone delayed by weeks or even months. And I feel like crap because I can't, it's a controlled substance. So I can't get a lot of it from other methods, other ways. And so I just did, I've never done this before. And I'm going to start doing it now, is just paying out of pocket. So I asked him, I was like, well, how much does it cost? And sure enough, it's like maybe 40% cheaper just to pay for it out of pocket. Now, I have the privilege, the luxury of being able to do that. I make enough money that I can fork over $500, $600, whatever it is, every 3 months to be able to do that. Not a lot of people can't do that. And so they're stuck having to just wait and have their care rationed by insurance for no good reason. So I recognize that. But at this point, I'm just like, anything I can do just to not have the headache of dealing with insurance, I want to do that. I know a lot of people are feeling that the same way, especially now that premiums are going up. ACA subsidies are going away, so premiums are going to go up like by 4 or 5 times for some people. It's just, oh, it's getting worse, and insurance companies are just laughing at us. Just laughing. I don't know. The good news is though that because I'm deciding to do cash pay, I can just pay for as long as it's medically necessary. I can get kind of all the testosterone I need as if I'm willing to just pay for it, because obviously insurance is going to have a limit on what they're willing to pay, which usually is less than what I need as someone with no endogenous testosterone production. So I'm getting the high concentration pellets. That's going to give me a higher dose. And you'd be surprised that how much it takes for someone my age, a 40-year-old. I mean, I've been on this for 2 years now. So even a 38-year-old who doesn't make any of my own testosterone, how much it takes to get in the normal range. I've been in the normal range for years. Finally, I'm in the normal range. So it's not like some bodybuilder or somebody who's diverting, who's wanting like a testosterone level in the 1,000 range. Like, I'm just trying to get normal. That's it. That's why it's even more frustrating that it's like that I get all these roadblocks, because like, just let me feel normal. Let me get my gender affirming care, please. I want it. I need to feel like myself. All right. That's it. I had to get that out, folks, and of course I had to give it out to all of you. It never ends. When you're a patient and you just have to deal with medications, and there's a reason I make all this content about it, right? I haven't done one in a while. Jimothy's got to get back on it. He needs to start. He needs to talk about premiums. This premium thing is really bad. 25% increase year over year for some people this coming year. It's gonna be brutal. People are not gonna have health care, which is nothing new. It's just gonna get worse. It's worse and worse until we actually do something, or at least until the government opens up. So, man, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe by the time you guys hear this in 2 weeks, they'll have come to a solution. But somehow I doubt it. I don't know. Anyway, that's I had a wonderful conversation though with my urologist while my ass was hanging out in the air. It's always fun. It's always a fun conversation to have. All right. Should we get into this? Oh, by the way, I took a look at the comments left on the recent episode, which is which Disney characters have the worst vision. You guys liked it. Some people said it never occurred to me. It's from LOL Random 122. It never occurred to me that Hector is a skeleton that has eyeballs. It's surprising to me too when I looked at it. So what I did in this episode, you should go back and listen to it. It was a really fun thing to do. I might do a version of it on TikTok as well, where I just went through different characters and tried to assess their visual status. How healthy are these Disney characters' eyeballs? Hector the skeleton didn't have a good score. He doesn't have any eyelids. Not going to be smooth sailing for him. Some recommendations that I do: the Muppets. I haven't even seen a Muppet in a long time. Muppets have eyelids, don't they? I think maybe some of them do. Snuffleupagus, is that a Muppet? I think no, that's a Sesame Street character. I could go a lot of different ways with this. We could, if you guys want to hear me assess fictional characters and puppets' eyeballs, or puppets or Muppets, or both, yeah, let me know. I'm happy to do one. Futurama has a couple of easy ones. Yeah, Futurama. I'm a big Simpsons fan, a huge fan of Futurama, and so the professor in Futurama, very thick glasses, high hyperope. But he's also extremely old, like over 100 years old. And it's surprising if he has not had cataract surgery by then. If you're that high of a hyperope, get cataract surgery as soon as you possibly can and thank me later. All right. It's life changing. All of you people who are like +2 or higher, +3, +4, +5, life-changing cataract surgery. Get it, because your life is going to be more challenging over the age of 40. That's when you're going to definitely be in glasses, and eventually get to the point where you can't see anything well without glasses. And it's especially hard for you, high hyperopes, because you know what it felt like to have good vision. That's the difference between you and a myope, a nearsighted person. Hyperopes, You can focus your eyes through the hyperopia to see clearly in the distance when you're in your 20s and maybe even in your 30s. But in the 40s, it hits you. And then it gets even worse over time. And all of a sudden, you're in the situation where you're wearing glasses all the time, but you had 20 or 30 years of no glasses wear. It's really, it's challenging for us, for those of us. I include myself because that's kind of where I am. I'm going to be in glasses very soon. And so cataract surgery is great. Get your cataracts out and you can reset that focal point, get you good distance vision. Awesome. Love it. You're going to like it. All right, let's take a break. And then we will come back with some differential diagnoses. Hey, Krista, we're going to do something special.
What's that?
In honor of World Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week, this month we're going to spotlight a podcast that's been host to some very powerful conversations about antimicrobial resistance. It's called The Sepsis Spectrum, hosted by Nicole Kupchik.
It's so important to get that information out there to people, and a podcast is a great way to do that.
It really is. Each episode is about confronting different blind spots in sepsis and antimicrobial resistance that just helps educate people. And it's not just fluff. All right, it's not just cold academics and CME. These are real conversations about real stories about real patients. You can listen to the Sepsis Spectrum wherever you get your podcasts or watch it on Sepsis Alliance's YouTube channel. To learn how you can earn free nursing CE credits just by listening, visit sepsispodcast.org. All right, here we go. So we're going to do a differential for an abnormal red reflex. So this would be an ocular sign. Our ocular sign is the red reflex, an abnormal red reflex. So I chose this because it's something that, as an ophthalmologist, we have so many different ways of looking into the eye and assessing the eye that a lot of non-ophthalmologists don't have that ability. And so I wanted to choose something here right off the bat that is an exam technique that anybody can do. And often, pediatricians, family practice, internists, everybody knows how to check a red reflex. It's very simple. All right. You get a direct ophthalmoscope. They do exist. And then you just step back from the patient a few feet and you look through it right at their eyes, like you're like a camera flash. And you're looking to make sure to see, is the red reflex uniform? The red reflex is the reddish glow as the light that you're shining at the patient is reflected off of the retina back through the front of the eye back to you. All right. So when you have an abnormal red reflex, that indicates some underlying eye condition. And so you can get that when if the red reflex, if you're counting on that that light to go straight through to the retina and then back through, well, what happens whenever there's something in the way of that light coming into the eye? That's when you'll get an abnormal red reflex. So there's quite a long list actually of things that can cause an abnormal red reflex. I'm going to start with obstructions, things that prevent the light from getting through to the back of the eye. Obvious one is cataract. So cataract in kids is the most common way because a lot of times the red reflex test is done in kids because sometimes there's not much you can do with little babies. They're or toddlers or young children. They don't sit still for an exam. So sometimes that's all you're going to get is looking at the red reflex and make sure it's normal. So if you have a kid has a congenital cataract, then you get clouding of the lens, and that means the red reflex is going to be dull. And again, we're comparing it to the other eye. So cataract's one. Obviously, the big one, the one that is scary and potentially life-threatening, certainly vision-threatening, is retinoblastoma, a rare eye cancer in children that causes a dull gray or white red reflex. So if you're taking care of kids and you see that, You look through that ophthalmoscope and you see the red reflex coming great from one eye, not so great from the other. Send that patient to an eye doctor. Doesn't have to be a pediatric ophthalmologist, folks. Any ophthalmologist can look at that, can do the best they can, and if that kid needs to see a pediatric ophthalmologist, they will know where the pediatric ophthalmologists are, because you don't have a pediatric ophthalmologist in every part of the country. Chances are you got an ophthalmologist within at least an hour of you. And so get them in to see an eye doctor for sure. Retinoblastoma, very scary. I have never seen a new kid that comes in with retinoblastoma. Usually it's diagnosed pretty quickly, pretty early in life, because pediatricians know to look for this. And often it's runs along it's a germline mutation. And so most of the time it's going to run in families. So family member who has somebody with retinoblastoma, they're going to be all over it. So they're going to be looking for that frequently in kids, in families that have a history of retinoblastoma, right? So it usually does get caught pretty early. I'm sure, and pediatric ophthalmologists see it a lot more than me. I'm a comprehensive ophthalmologist, so I'm not going to get those. I'm not going to often be the first person to see kids with retinoblastoma. Coats disease is another one. This is a condition in which you get abnormal blood vessels that grow in the retina that are more likely to break open and bleed. And so you could get these big vitreous hemorrhages, but often what'll happen is you'll get a dark red reflex because there's blood in the back of the eye, or these abnormal blood vessels. Retinal detachment, right? You have another thing that's blocking light coming into the eye, which is just how it happens to be a detached retina. And we talked about congenital cataracts. There's this thing called persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous, PHPV. This is a condition in which abnormal blood vessels remain in the eye after birth. So in utero, as the eye develops, it's very vascular in the back of the eye. You actually have this vascular stalk that goes from your lens all the way to the retina. It's in the vitreous. It's very vascular, and that kind of disintegrates, in utero, and by the time you're born, most of that's already gone. But it can persist, and if that happens, it's just something else that's blocking light coming to the eye, can give you an abnormal red reflex. I would say that probably takes care of like 99% of physical things in the eye causing a red reflex. So what else can cause an abnormal red reflex? I would say the most common one is strabismus. This is a test you can do to see if there may be subtle strabismus. And I mean, when I say strabismus, I mean a misalignment of the eyes. So you do your red reflex test, have that kid, hey, can you look at my light? And you're looking through the ophthalmoscope and you see there's a blunted red reflex on one side. The most common reason that could be is because the eyes are not aligned properly. All right, so you're not getting a straight on view through the pupil. And so that red reflex is going to be blunted. All right. What do? You see that on a screening exam, on a well child visit, you're a pediatrician. What do? Send that kid over to an ophthalmologist, have them take a look, or any eye doctor, and they can triage from there. Often strabismus is not subtle. Once you see that abnormal red reflex, you can do other eye movement testing to see if there's a restriction in a particular area of gaze. And then get that figured out. Often, sometimes kids just need glasses. Sometimes they need surgery. Sometimes you just do what the kid needs. Another thing that can cause an abnormal red reflex would be an isometropia. So if you have one eye that, say, has a lot of astigmatism to it compared to the other eye, that can change the appearance of the red reflex, where it's a little bit more blunted compared to the other one, a little bit dimmer than the other eye. So that can be a reason. You can have strabismus. You can have one eye that has a glasses prescription that's just way different than the other eye. That's probably enough. I think that covers like the vast majority of any, red reflex issues that you might notice. So that's your differential. We got cataract, retinoblastoma, Coates disease, retinal detachment, persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous, PHPV, strabismus, and anisometropia. I think I'm hitting all the major actors. All right. Let's take one more break and we'll come back with a differential regarding an ocular symptom. Hey, Kristen.
Yeah.
You know what it's time for?
What?
More Demodex blepharitis talk.
Yay!
We're not talking about mites today, though.
Okay, phew.
All right. I've mentioned the crusties. Remember the crusties? The collarettes?
Yes, I remember
right? It's a
eyelid
telltale
crusties.
sign of Demodex blepharitis. I just want to educate people that you can't always see these things in the mirror. Sometimes you need magnification, the equipment we use in the eye clinic to be able to diagnose this.
So some people might not even realize it when they have Demodex blepharitis?
Exactly. Often patients don't know they have those crusties and can't connect their symptoms of redness, irritation, itchiness to Demodex blepharitis.
That just sounds like allergies.
It can be. It's also a great time right now to make an appointment with your eye doctor before the end of the year when deductibles reset.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. To see more pictures of crusties and eyelids with Demodex blepharitis, visit miteslovelids.com. Again, that's miteslovelids.com to learn more. This ad is brought to you by Tarsus Pharmaceuticals. All right, I wanted to choose something for our differential diagnosis of an ocular symptom. I wanted to choose something that's just more common. Doing the red reflex, a sign, is vast majority of people out there, even ophthalmologists and non-ophthalmologists alike, are not going to see a lot of that abnormal red reflex. So let's do a symptom that's much more common. Burning. Someone comes in, my eyes are burning. What does that mean? What is it? I tell you, you know how many times I probably hear burning about 6 or 7 times a day in clinic. Like that's the primary reason. And then if you ask people, they come in for just a routine exam, you ask them, hey, you ever have an eye burning with your eyes? It's probably like 50% of patients. It's especially in an age range, over the age of 50. I'd say a lot of people, a high percentage of people have some degree of burning of their eyes. Do your eyes just burn? Are they irritated? Itchy burn, not so much itchy. We're not talking about itchy. Itching is different. We're talking burning. So here's the most common cause of eye burning: blepharitis. Blepharitis, honestly, I don't even like talking about it. But I have to talk about it a lot because it is the most common thing by far that we see and discuss in the eye clinic. So blepharitis, bleph meaning eyelid, itis meaning inflammation of your eyelids. And what this does, it's usually like your immune system just kind of gets ramped up against the natural normal bacteria that is found on your eyelids. And it causes the margin of your eyelid to get a little red. You have lots of blood vessels there. So lots of inflammatory cells. You start creating more mucus. Sometimes you get buildup of stuff. It's a clinical term. The stuff on your eyelashes, we call it scurf or eyelid dandruff. I know there's lots of different ways you can describe it, but it's that like stuff that gets kind of caked on your eyelids. And so that's just a sign that there's inflammation causing that discharge. And what we call meibomitis, which is where that inflammation that you get on the eyelid margin is right where the opening of your oil glands are. So you have that inflammation around your oil glands. The oil glands aren't going to work real well. And you need those oil glands, those what we call meibomian glands. So meibomitis, inflammation of the meibomian glands. You need those glands to produce oil because that's going to lubricate the surface of the eye. That's going to help insulate your tears and keep you from getting dry eye. But if you have inflamed oil glands, the oil's not being made. The tears you make don't have an oil layer trapping them on the eye. So the tears that you make are going to evaporate very quickly. And you end up with what's called evaporative dry eye. So you get dry eye symptoms. It like burn, like a sandiness, a grittiness to the eye, in addition to the burning. So what's causing that burning when you have blepharitis? It's just inflammation. It's the inflammation of the eyelid. It feels bad. It feels irritation. It feels burning. That burning discomfort is very classic for just inflammation of the margin of the eyelid. That is probably 90% plus of people with burning discomfort to the eye end up that's the diagnosis. There's a few other things that can happen though. So these are less common diagnoses with burning. You can have an inflamed pterygium or a pinguecula. So I would guess, I'm not sure what the statistics are, but man, most people, like I would say by the age of 50, have at the very least a pinguecula. And then some people have a pterygium. So what is that? So this is like redundant tissue that is found right at the equator of the eye. So if your iris is a clock, at the top it's 12, all the way around to 12, so the hours of the clock. At 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, that's where you'll find what's called a pinguecula, and then a pinguecula can turn into a pterygium. So it's basically a sign of sun damage on the surface of the eye. And so it looks like kind of a whitish plaque on the white part of your eye right next to your iris at 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock. That's where you can get them because that's where you're going to get the most sun exposure on your eye, is right there at those clock hours. And so it starts with a pterygium, and you get kind of this heaped up little plaque of white tissue. A lot of people come in like, I have a spot in my eye. Well, actually, it's just a pinguecula. There's nothing we have to do about that. And then if it progresses, that pinguecula can start to actually grow onto the surface of the cornea. And then you can start having some major problems because that can obstruct your vision. But what can also happen is you can get inflammation. Your body enacts this immune reaction to that pinguecula or to that pterygium, and that causes burning discomfort. And you have to clear that up with topical steroids. But if it keeps happening, like you clear it up, it just comes back. You clear it up, it comes back. That is an indication to have it surgically removed. So you can remove that scar tissue. I call it scar tissue. It's not quite scar tissue, but it's abnormal tissue, but not cancerous. And you can take it out. So it does require a surgery. You remove that area, that wedge of tissue, and you either replace it with normal tissue, like do a little transplant, an allograft, an autograft, not allograft, an autograft. So you take a healthy part of your conjunctiva and you put it over where the abnormal tissue was removed. You can also use amniotic membrane. There's different ways of doing it. So that's another diagnosis of burning. Burning could be pingueculitis or an inflamed pterygium. I find it interesting. We have pingueculitis. We don't have like a fancy word for inflamed pterygium. We just call it inflamed pterygium. There's not like pterygiitis. I don't know. We don't have a good word for it. Just now coming to that realization. It's like, if there's one thing we're good at in ophthalmology, it's finding really challenging words to say about everything. All right. What else could it be? It could be episcleritis is another very common diagnosis. So this is also on the spectrum of autoimmune conditions. Your immune system gets ramped up to a part of your episclera, which is basically just the very top layer of the white part of your eye. So not the conjunctiva, that's like the translucent skin of your eye. So conjunctivitis, pink eye, that's when you get an inflammation of the conjunctiva. Episcleritis is the layer right below it. So you have episcleritis, and then if you have inflammation that goes deeper into the sclera, which is the tough fibrous wall of the eye, that's when it's called scleritis. That's when it's called scleritis. So you have episcleritis, then deeper and more worrisome would be scleritis. But episcleritis is relatively common and clears up with some steroids, some NSAIDs. We usually prescribe those if patients can take those, but it can cause that burning discomfort. Also on the differential is just ocular toxicity. So people are taking a lot of topical medications. Maybe they're taking Visine or any other drop that has preservatives in them. And so if you get a big bottle, like 5 ml bottle, it's going to have preservative in it. Preservative-free drops come in individual vials. That's the only way to store them. And so once you open them, they go bad pretty quickly because there's no preservative. So that's why they're in little vials. A bigger bottle has preservatives in them, which is cheaper, but also some people are susceptible to an allergy or developing allergy or just irritation. This what we call medicamentosum, just like a susceptibility to their ocular surface doesn't like those preservatives. And so you start developing an inflammatory reaction from all the drops you're using. So we'll see this sometimes in people that are really aggressively using artificial tears from a bigger bottle. Artificial tears are great. And most people do just fine with preservatives. But some people don't, especially when you're using a lot of them. Like we're talking hourly drops. You may start getting a problem related to the preservatives. If you're using artificial tears that frequently, well, first go see an eye doctor and they can figure out if you need that or what the problem is. But also you probably want to move over to a preservative-free drop if you're using them that frequently. And so preservatives from eye drops, sometimes contact lens solution is a problem. And so that's definitely something you want to talk with an ophthalmologist or an optometrist. Not a lot of ophthalmologists deal with contact lenses. And so optometrist is probably the way to go if there may be a concern regarding your contacts. Or just contact lens related problems in general. You're overwearing them. You're rubbing off the surface of your cornea. All that can cause burning discomfort. Makeup. This is another one. Makeup. Particularly eyelash extensions. The glue from those extensions often causes, not often I would say, but it's not uncommon. I'm channeling my inner internist. Not uncommon that eyelash extensions cause burning discomfort, inflammation of the eyelids. Your eyes get really swollen. And unfortunately, if we see that, you got to get them removed. That's why in the world of eye care, we don't like them. The eyelash, I understand it's a big fashion statement and it's a part of people's identity sometimes, but man, I don't like them. They seem to, and this is just selection bias because I'm an eye doctor, so I'm going to see all the ones that go wrong, but I've seen enough go wrong that just be careful who does it. Read reviews, please. And I don't have any better explanation or tips for doing eyelash extensions safely. My one piece of advice would be just like, don't do them. Whenever we do, my wife and I do shows, she will sometimes use like the sticker eyelash extensions. It's just a sticker that goes right above, right on the eyelid, and there's like one-time use. Do that. Like put them on for you have an event. Put on some fake lashes, just like a little sticker. Not something so permanent as a glued eyelash, because you can react to that glue and get lots of inflammation of the eyelid, really uncomfortable. And we can do our best to treat the inflammation with topical steroid, but you can't stay on topical steroid long term because that can cause glaucoma. It can cause cataract formation at an early age. And so you're better off just removing those extensions. And that's it. That's burning, you guys. So we did differential diagnosis of a red reflex, differential diagnosis of burning. So we'll come back next week with 2 more differential lists. 1 symptom, 1 sign. That's it for Knock Knock Eye. Thank you all for listening. I'm your host, Dr. Glaucom Flecken. Thanks to my producers, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Burke. Editor and engineer is Asa Portizo. Our music is by Omer Ben Svi. By the way, check out the YouTube channel. Leave a comment. You can also leave a review. I love hearing reviews. It actually helps people find this stuff. I would love to give more eye information to more people out there. So help people find this podcast. Leave a review on Apple if you have a second, or Spotify, or anywhere else that you listen to. Wherever you listen, leave a review. If you like watching this on YouTube, because I'm constantly pointing at my eyes in different parts of the anatomy as if everyone can see me, leave a comment on the YouTube channel. And that's where I address any comment I address comes from there. But for the reviews, our producers sometimes pull those out, and we talk about those in Knock Knock High episodes, and we talk about Eye. And so, and we really just appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Knock, knock, goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen, or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts, or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.